All right, here's a wild thought for you. What if everything you thought you knew about your purpose was just wrong? Today, we're diving into a pretty radical idea. It's the belief that on one specific day, the entire rulebook for humanity just changed. We're going to break down what this whole new human vibration thing is all about and what it could mean for you right now. So let's just jump right in.
I mean, think about it. For thousands and thousands of years, humanity was chugging along on a single track, playing by one set of cosmic rules. And then, bam, in an instant, the rulebook gets tossed out the window. Now, this might sound like some sci-fi plot, but it's actually a framework, a way of looking at the world that might totally change how you see your life, your struggles, and even what you're trying to achieve.
So, what are we talking about here? What was this big cosmic event? Well, according to the teaching we're looking at, you can circle a date on the calendar, December 21st, 2012. That's the day everything supposedly shifted. We went from what's called an era of growth to a brand new era of purpose. But, to really get what that means, we've got to take a step back. We need to look at the fundamentals of what it even means to be human, at least according to this worldview.
Okay, so this whole philosophy kicks off with a really core idea. And it's that to understand ourselves, we first have to recognize that we're basically two things at once. Two totally distinct realities, all living inside one single body.
So first up, you've got the material. In Korean, it's called muljil. This is all the stuff you can touch, right? Your body, your bones, your cells, everything physical. It's the vessel, the machine that lets you experience the world. Pretty straightforward stuff. But then, of course, there's the other half of the equation, the non-material, or bimuljil. This is the stuff you can't touch. Think of it as your spirit, your soul, your consciousness. It's described as this unique, non-physical energy living inside our physical shell. It's the real you, totally separate from your body.
And here's the key takeaway. A human being isn't just one or the other. We are this totally unique, inseparable mix of both. It's this combination that lets us, be in the world. And this is so important. Which one of these realities we decide to focus on, the material stuff or the non-material spirit, that is at the absolute core of this huge shift we're exploring today. All right, so before that big 2012 turning point, humanity was supposedly running on a different frequency. The source we're looking at calls it the vibration of greed. And it was an era defined by focusing almost completely on our material side, on the physical stuff. And that, in turn, created a very particular kind of human.
And this is where things get super interesting. The original teaching uses two different Korean words for human, and believe me, the difference is massive. It's not just semantics, it's a core part of the whole philosophy. You have ingan, which is the human driven by selfish desire, focused on their own needs. That's the material self talking. And then you have saram, which is a person who lives for others, for the greater good. That's the non-material self shining through. And the argument is, before 2012, our whole world, our whole society was built to reward the ingan.
Yeah, this really paints a picture of that individualist lifestyle, doesn't it? It's all about wanting more stuff, wanting 2 apartments, craving that fancy car, just being able to spend lavishly without a care in the world. It was all about my wants, my needs. And for a long, long time, this is what we were all told to strive for. It wasn't just okay, it was literally the definition of success.
So, what exactly happened on December 21st, 2012 that brought this whole Incan era to a grinding halt? To understand that, we need to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture, the timeline of how humanity developed. So according to this teaching, you can break down all of human development into 2 big chunks. The first 30%, that was our super slow biological evolution, happening over tens of thousands of years. But get this, the other 70% was a crazy fast growth period that mostly happened after World War II. It was this intense burst of accumulating knowledge, technology, and just stuff. And then that whole period of growth just stopped on a dime. And this right here is the absolute crux of it. The idea is that on that specific day, our cosmic permission slip to just grow and accumulate for ourselves was, well, it was revoked. It's like the universe said, okay, that's enough of that. The old goals of just getting more, of personal gain, they were suddenly obsolete. Humanity was given a brand new mission. So, if the age of the Ingan, the selfish human, is over, then what's next? Well, this is what the teaching calls the age of the person, or, to use the right term, the age of the saram.
The Saram is basically the new blueprint for being human. This is someone whose entire life isn't defined by what they can get, but by what they can give. Their purpose is found by looking outward to the world, not inward to their own desires. It is a complete 180 from the Ingan mindset. It's a fundamental shift from feeding the material self to letting the non-material self, the spirit, lead the way.
Okay, that sounds great, but how do you actually become a Saram? Well, the source provides a kind of roadmap. It's called the Hongic Path, and it's basically a series of 4 really powerful questions that force you to shift your focus away from yourself and onto the world around you. You start small with your neighbor, and then you expand all the way out to humanity. It's about completely reorienting your life towards service. And here is the beautiful, kind of mind-bending paradox of this whole thing. The teaching claims that the very moment you stop chasing your own needs, the moment you start living for other people, your own life just automatically starts to work. It begins to flourish without you even trying. It's a pretty wild idea, right? But it might just explain why so many people today feel lost and are searching for purpose. Maybe true fulfillment really does come from giving, not getting.
But what if you don't make the switch? What happens if you try to keep living the old Ingan way in this supposedly new era? Well, the source is crystal clear about the consequences, and it's not great. The new rule of the game is actually pretty simple. The old system is broken. Trying to live that old life of selfish accumulation in this new era of purpose, it's like trying to log in with an old expired password. The system just won't let you in. It doesn't work anymore. And what's more, trying to force it will actively, and I mean actively, lead you into a life of hardship and struggle.
This quote from the source really just says it all, doesn't it? Even if you have collected as much gold as a mountain, your life will be difficult. A mountain of gold, and it can't buy you peace. All those old markers of success are basically worthless now. The game is fundamentally changed, and the old rulebook is out.
And look, this isn't a problem just for the super rich. This new kind of hardship is said to be universal. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have, how much land you own, how much knowledge you've crammed in your head, or even how beautiful you are. All the things our society tells us are the most important, they are powerless now. The message is clear. If you're not living in sync with this new purpose for humanity, life is going to be a struggle.
So, where does all this leave us? This whole philosophy, it's not just some abstract concept to think about. It's a direct challenge to pretty much everything about our modern way of life. It really forces us to look in the mirror and ask a tough question. Am I living as an Ingan, or am I living as a Saram? And in a world that, let's be honest, still seems to reward personal gain above all else, finding the answer to that question might just be the most important thing any of us can do.